Yeah, I think they do. I think the fact that we have a constitution in South Africa that promotes and supports rights of LGBTI people, I think it's a responsibility that they should carry out in different forums, in different levels, wherever. It shouldn't be that in South Africa, domestically there's this, and when they are in international spaces, they have a different stand.
On a national level, we have the South African Constitution, which protects and promotes the rights of LGBTI people, right? And so when you go to the UN level, it becomes imperative to be consistent with your national mandate.
Voice for Human Rights is very disappointed by South Africa's abstention from the vote. The move does not fit with the commitment that South Africa's government says it has made to protect and to promote the rights of LGBTI people. And it certainly doesn't fit with our constitution or with South Africa's international law obligations. Unfortunately, South Africa's abstention from the vote feeds into the false and damaging rhetoric that sexual and gender non-conformity is somehow un-African.
They're selling us dreams, saying that we protect you, you're part of the country and whatnot. But at a national, international level, people choose to restrain.
Today, I'm still very much saddened on South Africa basically disregarding its responsibility, its constitutional mandate of protecting and promoting the rights of LGBTI people, and not just South African LGBTI communities, but African LGBTI communities.
Well, we were very surprised, particularly as South Africa had initiated the original resolution on these matters, so it seemed very strange to then, after that, abstain when they're trying to look at a stronger mechanism to protect those rights. It seems really illogical for one thing, and anti-constitutional in a sense in another way, as you would think that South Africa would be amongst those countries at the forefront of looking to have a particular special mechanism in the UN on these issues.
I do not understand that argument, and if anything, I would imagine that our experience of apartheid atrocities would be all the more reason to vote in favour of a special rapporteur on LGBTI rights in Africa and the world.
I think it's very manipulative to invoke apartheid. You can't abstain and not take a moral decision on the oppression of other people's lives and the violence that they experience because of their identity, because they want to live their freedom, and then invoke a system that oppressed people because they wanted to live their personal freedoms and they wanted to be equal. So I think that was very manipulative.
I feel it's not a fair comparison. I don't even think we should even be comparing the two. People are dying in South Africa. Taking that stand alone says a lot that they do not care. They don't really mean what they say in the Constitution about protection of rights, non-discrimination and all that. It's just a paper.
That it has let both us and itself down in an international forum, and that this needs to be made up to the LGBTI community living in South Africa. And part of making it up to us is providing us with an opportunity to engage in open and honest discussion about the reasons behind the abstention and also what we can expect in the future.
They have sold out the lives of LGBTI people on politicking and shying away and running away from the responsibility to protect.
What I believe now, we have to fear. We have to live in fear, because the work that we do says we have to be out there, we need to be vocal. But again, because our government, it doesn't stand by us, it means that our lives are in danger.
you know. So that means we're going to be talking and still be killed at the end of the day.
The message we'd like to send is that it's an issue for all of us, and we think it's a very good idea that Refuting is looking for the views beyond just the LGBTI sector. For instance, we work with refugees and migrants, but of course people's sexual orientation and gender identity is often a reason why people come particularly to South Africa because of our constitution, to seek asylum if from persecution on that basis.
The South African government needs to understand that activists like myself who work on the ground and organizations like Refuting who work on the ground are dealing with the human rights violations. We are the ones who are losing our colleagues, we're losing our fellow activists, we're losing our community members because of hate crimes, because of homophobia, because of heteronormativity. And so it's very irresponsible for them to go onto a global platform, an international platform, and be inconsistent with the Constitution.
I would like us as civil society to really challenge these kinds of stands that our government takes in the UN and other platforms that are negative. I think sometimes they get away with it because nothing is done.
What our government says about our rights in an international setting matters, and we have a right to some accountability and a right to know where we stand.
We shouldn't lose hope in the face of the struggles that we face, even in spaces like the Human Rights Council, where one would automatically assume that upholding the principles of innate and inherent human rights for all is something that comes naturally.
I hope that we can collectively put pressure on the government and to show them that we do notice, we see what they do when they go to the UN, and we want to see them acting in line with our constitution, in line with the human rights they should be upholding, both in the country and in international and UN fora.
If South Africa in 2011 tabled the SOGI resolution along with Brazil, and then 5 years later they choose to abstain, why are they abstaining? Are they in fact afraid that a independent expert that would come to South Africa would actually see that there's a huge disparity between the Constitution and what it promises and actually the lived realities and the continuous human rights violation of the LGBTI community in South Africa?